gotta ask yourself whether reality is a dream. Are you a dream or reality? We're all a part of the answer to the meaning of it all. Come in and join us for the moment we call now. Rise up, join in, raise the whole vibration.
Yo, welcome to the live stream of consciousness. I'm a little energetic tonight. I didn't start with my normal hello, but hello. It's Thursday night. It's May 15th. It's 9 p.m. If that makes sense to you, if that's your moment right now, please type in hashtag live. Let the algorithm know you are here with me. This is my intentional moment each week to enjoy life, to create a moment that's my own making, my own intention, and that is the live stream of consciousness. I love to watch podcasts with these kinds of discussions that I'm about to have. I did this last show. I just kind of recommended a few different shows if you like these kinds of conversations. Wisdom from North is one, Next Level Soul is another, Third Eye Drops is another great one, and then of course Acid for Squares. I'm doing that just because I feel like this is helping the world grow into conversations that may not happen at the workplace, but you just tune in online, you come and you join us, and what's good about this one is I am live, so you can type in the comments, you can talk to each other, you can do all sorts of stuff. But we can support each other and grow. So that's what I'm here for. I do like to start the show. I forgot to do this on Holding Space with Jim last time. I do like to start the show with a little intentional moment, alignment, right? Like we're all here watching. Let's all just kind of get in alignment energetically. And I do that with Sage. My bowl is now named Sage because I've been saying that it's a bit of a sonic sage. I love the frequency of this bowl. It responds to just my voice. Sometimes I hear it ringing when I'm talking near it. It's really amazing. But let's just ring the bowl, taking a deep breath through our nose, feel it as we do it, and then release it and kind of all just land in this moment. So here we go. I love how long this thing rings out for. I don't know if you guys still pick it up on the microphone. I turned the echo off. I turned the noise off to try to let you guys hear it. But for me, it's just a clearing. It's a great moment of intention. Let me reset my audio settings so my guest will hear himself well without any echo. Hold on, brace yourself. You may get a little jolt of a volume change as I do that. So adjust yourself. Anyway, here we are. We're aligned. We're in the moment. We're together. I have a new friend who I love having conversations with, so I'm thinking you're going to enjoy this. I met Jim Kincaid. I was invited onto a podcast called Team Rabbit Hole. My friend Raphael, who has been on this show before, invited me, and it was just such an amazing conversation and vibration. I think it was just a feeling. It was just like when people who are operating from their heart are transmitting their energy, right? I think it's authentic. I think that it's usually received, and that's why you guys are here every week, and I love seeing you out there. Lily, hey, Brother Jim. Tim is live. Hola, Brother Jim. And Brother Jim, of course, is live here with us. So get ready for a cool conversation, a cool moment. As Ninja Kitty knows, my favorite part of the week, her favorite part of the week. Thank you for being here always. And without further ado, Welcome to the live stream of consciousness, brother Jim. What's happening?
What up, sir? Round two. I saw you Tuesday.
Yes.
Today's Thursday. It's like a double header. Bong bong.
I
What's
love
going on?
how Alex Ferrari says, "Welcome, returning champion, brother Jim."
Yeah, what's up?
Totally.
We're all. Yeah, that's one of the things I call myself. I mean, with astrology and stuff, brother Jim, because it's like y'all. We're like family up in here. Let's
I love it.
not get too ahead of ourselves. No, like gurus and all that shit. I'm not into it.
I love it. And you know what? It's not, it's like kind of like almost like, hey, I'm presenting myself in a way, but I'm also taking a step back. I'm not pretentious. I'm not Father Jim. I'm brother
Yeah,
Jim.
right. And I'm an oldest of four, so like it just feels normal to be like,
Totally.
yeah,
There you
I'm
go.
your
What's
older
up, Arnie?
brother, your
Good to see
cousin.
you. Yes, totally.
So what's up?
So what's up? Well, this show is the live stream of consciousness. This is kind of where I started being in front of the camera and talking too much. But you know, I love these conversations. Like I said, I consume a lot of podcasts that are kind of considered I don't want to say higher thinking, but just deeper thinking, you know, just different thinking from the mainstream, like, oh my God, I got to get up, I got to go to work, I got to pay my rent, you know, the 3D, the perils of 3D.
A little more fringe.
Yeah, a little bit more fringe. So I always start the show with a great question I love because one, I think there's no wrong answer, and two, the answers kind of all add up and just kind of grow organically. And that question is, what is consciousness, Jim? What to you? What are we even talking about?
That's got to be the perennial question, isn't it? I'm not a Taoist, but I mean, they say like, you know, the Tao that can be named isn't the Tao. I think consciousness is probably something we're a part of. How would I even put it? Yeah, where does one go with this? Consciousness seems to be the animating force behind the film that we find ourselves in the celluloid of. There's things like panentheism, which is like all things are made of consciousness. So like in the Matrix movies, you see like, you know, the green script is like not only people but soup spoons and walls and stuff. So it's like that would presuppose something to the effect of like it's all consciousness. I'm not against that. That's like a panpsychism kind of thing where it's like what's not consciousness.
Right.
But then I think there's degrees of it. So like but that also might be very specially centric or whatever, where it's like, you know, humans tend to think we know everything about everything and, you know,
Right.
think it's all about our perspective of consciousness. I wish I had known you were going to ask that because I could have come up with something a little better, a little more smart. I
That's the
don't
wonder of
know.
that,
Yeah.
the joy of that question. I feel like it's like because it hits you like you're a deer in headlights. Like, oh my God, what is consciousness? But the truth of the matter,
Abiding awareness, I guess, an abiding awareness.
there you go, there you
Sure.
go. I mean, it does hit you suddenly, right? Like, okay, I know what consciousness is. I am consciousness, right? Like, you know, like there are so many different ways to perceive it, and a lot of people talk about different levels of consciousness,
Right, like
right?
unconscious, subconscious, because I
Right,
still exist even if I'm like knocked out.
that's right.
So are we talking about local consciousness, like the grand poobah of consciousness, like, you know, that's the Brahma's
We're
mind kind of
talking
thing?
about it all. We're talking
Yeah.
about it all.
What do
But
you
that,
think it is? I mean, not to flip it on you.
no,
There's
that's
no
fair.
wrong answers,
I
right?
love it when people turn it around me. I believe consciousness is source. I believe that the universe is one mind, and we are all fractals of that mind, thoughts, so to speak, right? Like we're an individual thought of a brain that just came up with the idea of Jim or Michael and just put us out there, and now we're kind of that stream existing on the fabric of consciousness,
Of the dream.
of the dream. Yeah,
We're the characters in the dream. I mean, that kind of there's a film my girlfriend showed me, and I don't want to give too much away. It's a pretty good movie, actually. It's called Mr. Nobody.
oh yeah, great movie.
You've seen it, right? And
Yeah.
I think some of the conclusions of that were in effect like if people are, I mean, this isn't exactly the whole point of the movie, so I don't want to say this is it, but how do I talk about this without blowing it? Everyone close your ears, hit mute if you don't want to hear this. It's a good movie. You should watch it either way.
If you
It's
don't like
not bad.
spoilers,
Yeah, close your
turn off your
ears.
volume and we'll give you a thumbs up when we're
Right. Long story short, I think the idea would be like characters in a dream would be substantially convinced that they're a part of the thing to the degree that they wouldn't know how to differentiate they weren't. Same thing kind of happens in Vanilla Sky with the psychologist, right? Where it's like, there's nothing to prove, the whole brain in a vat thing, where it's like, we can't prove that we're not a butterfly dreaming, or all this stuff. So when you're like, we're part of an abiding awareness that is greater than ourselves, that we're still a part of in a reflective sense, I think that's kind of what you're saying, like we're emanations in the mind of something greater. That made me think of Mr. Nobody, where it's like, oh well, yeah, so when the dreamer awakens, do I disappear? Like, how does that work? Like, anyway, so I don't know. It's one of these weird things, because it depends on a lot of presuppositions. I know Buddhism, which I'm not a Buddhist, but it's like, there's a lot of flavors of Buddhism, but generally speaking, it's like an agnostic or more or less atheist philosophy, which is like, look, there's no deity. You like wake up from the matrix, try to get out of the illusion or whatever. I know there's certain flavors of Buddhism which tend to create deity or stuff like that more specifically. Whereas obviously a Christian or Jewish presupposition is like, there's one God, or so it really depends on your presuppositions on how you even approach the idea of like, what are we part of, and how am I functioning in that Leela, that play of being or whatever.
Totally. Yeah, you're right. Okay, so well, that's good, because that usually leads me to the next question, right? And the idea that you're talking about, that how do I put this? Like, so the idea that there's this other part to reality than the three-dimensional part that we're functioning right now, right? And we're expressing to each other right now, and believing is it, right? There's a lot of I like this now. This just came to mind. There's a lot of allusion in the things you're talking about Buddhism to the idea that it's an illusion, right? So the idea that it's an illusion, that this 3D is not reality, and there's something beyond it. I'm imagining you subscribe to that, knowing that you work with astrology and the tarot and all of that stuff.
Well, it's funny you say that. So I've always described the astrology and tarot and stuff like that. Tarot, I like tarot better, but I just call myself like tarot. I look at it as wallpaper within the matrix, in a sense. So it's like part of the set design. I don't, if you go up to the movie and you say and action, it's like, oh look, Luke's got a lightsaber and they're on the Death Star or whatever. It's like there's a set and a setting and props and things that create the setting, so to speak, for participation to even occur.
Right.
So at this moment, I don't believe like astrology is, some transcendental truth that's beyond the material plane that we experience. I mean, it might be see, this gets into like Platonic ideals and things like that, where it's like, is there a Libra archetype that's the supernal Libra archetype that bleeds in, and this is a mirror of that? That's kind of a Plato's forms kind of thing. I don't subscribe to that at this moment. I mean, if somebody does, that's cool, but
yeah,
it seems like if you find yourself on the stage, so to speak, there's going to be conditions of the set that have conditions to themselves. So things like astrology and tarot, whatever, any of these oracular kind of things have to do with inside the domain of a specific set and setting, and I don't think they translate outward past the point. I mean, it's weird.
Interesting.
I know. I
well,
mean, that might be a buzzkill there.
no, but it's interesting. No, I love it. I love to have to think, right? So the idea that you're talking about, this movie set, Luke has a lightsaber, and there's this story, right? Part of participating in that is a suspension of belief.
Right. That's what makes going to a film work, or magic, or anything, where it's like, look, you're going to have to engage this with a certain level of perception and involvement with consciousness, as we've said. Right. And I mean, look, if you're at the movie theater, you typically, even if you're watching this, like, you're probably zoning out on a lot of things that are still, quote, occurring, whether it's radio waves from the sun, or like all sorts of things are occurring still, but your focus is honed in, and that's kind of the magic of movie theaters, where they're like, look, dim the lights, everyone be quiet, put your attention here, here's light on the wall, Plato's Cave 101, and we disappear into it, and it's not a problem, I don't think, in a weird way. That's what dreams are, in a sense, probably.
Well, it's a macrocosm of consciousness. I feel like that's what we're talking about, right?
Yeah, it's a little simulacrum. Yeah, we're doing a weird version now. I just saw the other day that in VR people are playing PS1 games, like in VR, and I mean, I had a PlayStation 1. It's like,
It's so
it
funny.
gets into this weird place where it's like, well, where's the
You're
line
creating
here? How do I know?
wormholes.
It's
Yeah,
like Rick and
totally.
Morty. It's like, where am
I
I just a video game of a video game
love
of a video
that.
game?
It's
Yeah.
so true. It's so funny. James Anthony, what's up, James? He says, if you can't prove it doesn't exist, you can't say it isn't real. I love that.
I hear that. Yeah. It's
I
like,
love that.
I mean, it's not a trickster answer, but I hear what you're saying, because a lot of people, one of the things about philosophy, and stuff is you have to define your terms and like have a language to be able to speak with. Because if someone's like talking about the ether and somebody else doesn't have any bearing on what that might mean in their ontology and the framework of their worldview or whatever, because the definitions aren't they have to be nailed in perfectly, but they have to be frameworks of understanding to bridge these kind of conversations. That's what culture does, in a sense.
Yeah.
That's what language is for. Some guys like, holy shit, there's a cow, or not a cow, like a bobcat, it's gonna kill us. Like, how does he express that? Or whatever, right?
Right.
So
Interesting. So, okay. So the next question I usually ask to my guests, which is usually psychic mediums and things, is like, okay, you believe that, there's this non-physical realm, and I'm not saying that you do. And I say, the question is usually, is there a moment that you remember where you realized things were beyond 3D, like there was more to it? So for you, I almost want to say, is there a moment that you remember kind of coming into the understanding that
metaphysics,
yeah,
like,
exactly.
oh, there's more to the picture than meets the eye.
Yeah.
Two stories specifically. One is sober, one psychedelic. Like, one is drugs, one is non-drugs, although one could say it was an a naturally occurring DMT secretion or something like that. So the first one happened in high school. And this is, I mean, it's funny how life works, right? So my senior year, leading up to it, basically my parents were going through a divorce, and I was starting to smoke a lot of weed. I played guitar. I was playing, like, jamming for friends and stuff, and just smoking in between quote sets and just getting high all the time. Started to trip on mushrooms, stuff like that. And I don't know. I mean, I think I was starting to wake up spiritually, but I didn't have any like Merlin to guide me. Right. So I was kind of like starting to get ideas. I think I'd alluded to it before, a mushroom trip where, like my first one, basically I was just like, oh my gosh, the volumetrics, basically. I was like, holy shit, like water when it rains fills things all the way. And it's like a very small thought, but it's also a very profound function of the dynamic of reality, where it's like, oh wow, things are filled. And another one, I didn't even have visuals. I was just like, as above, so below kind of vibes, where I'm like, everything's a Milky Way, our blood. I wasn't seeing crazy stuff. I was just having like this philosopher's epiphany or whatever, gnosis, right? So stuff like that started happening. Anyway, for no fucking reason, like I started getting into weird stuff. Like I read 2001: A Space Odyssey, the book, which is really good if people like sci-fi and stuff. I mean, the movie's solid as heck, but the book really turned me on in a very weird way. I would skip lunch. I was in a senior, like my year of high school, and instead of going to lunch and hanging out with friends and talking or whatever, I would go to the school library, and like pull out random books like on Zen Buddhism and Taoism and just random stuff, and not even like I was like fully digesting it. I was just like osmotically messing with it. I can't quite explain, because I started, for some reason, I started disassociating a lot more. Like I said, I was starting to wake up, starting to mess with chakra chanting just randomly. This is before YouTube and stuff, and it's not like I had like Master Splinter to guide the Ninja Turtle along. So I was just kind of like, it was very
intuitive.
Well, like chaos magician almost, where I'm like, I'm just plugging and playing and seeing what fits and what resonates. So long story short, after a little while, I was like, I'm gonna get sober. So I stopped smoking, and I wasn't drinking at this point. Basically, I was just like kind of going down this weird spiritual rabbit hole, and I started, for no reason, started running on a treadmill, listening to like G Unit on loop, and like the Police, like Can't Stand Losing You, like certain songs just on loop, and I would run as hard as I could, like on 10 on the treadmill, for like an hour, and I would get into this like zone, into this like super focused like zone mentally, and so I was doing that, and I did that for maybe a week or two, but at some point I started incorporating hopping off and getting my breathing right. Like, I'm in this high, manic isn't the right word, but this high frequency state. And I'm like, like the songs on loop. It's like creating these conditions for my consciousness to kind of break through it in some weird way. And then I started implementing basically sitting down in a lotus position and thinking my abs were Bruce Lee abs. Don't ask, this is high school. And I was just like, all right, I'm going to sit here and focus and get my breathing to the longest measures of breath I can. So I'd listen to Hey Jude, and it's like na 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 na, like that whole thing would be like one in breath. But I had just been running like
Wow.
insanely, right? So I'm
Right,
going
right.
between this like extreme poles of like kind of high energy and low energy kind of thing. I
Wow.
did that for like a week or two for no reason.
Mm.
Right? For like, it wasn't like I saw it on YouTube because it didn't exist. Nobody was telling me to
Well,
do this.
I'm gonna say I don't think there's something was
I was
guiding
led
you
by the
to
spirit is too
yeah, yeah,
strong
for
because it
sure.
wasn't like go do this.
Right, right,
You know what
but
I mean?
you did
So
it, but
yeah,
you did.
intuitionally I was like, I'm gonna do this. Like
Right, right,
it's science. It felt like science a little. Where I was like,
right,
what if I do this? What if I do
right,
this?
right, right, right.
So I start doing all that, and like, I mean, basically, at one point I was listening to Alan Parsons Project. They're great. He produced Dark Side of the Moon. He has an album called I, Robot, which is
Mhm.
really cool, funky album. If you know, it's
Yep.
basically based off of Isaac Asimov's book, which turned into a Will Smith movie, which looked pretty shit. I didn't see it, but
Mhm,
anyway, it's about robots becoming self-aware. How poignant of the times we're in.
mhm.
Anyway, I'm listening to this thing after running really hard for like an hour. I get off and I'm doing the long breaths, and I'm sitting there listening to this with headphones like this, and I'm laying on the ground, and all of a sudden, my body pops up, my astral body, like pops up out of my chest, like I sit
Oh,
up
wow.
basically, and I'm looking around the room and looking down at my body. I still hear the music; it's like a tether, but I astral projected it, and I didn't understand that was
Wow.
possible. I didn't understand. I think basically, I mean, if you're stressing your body out that much and doing all this weird breathing and all this kind of weird hyper energetic kind of meat suit work,
Yeah.
I feel like there was a like some philosophers gold got made or something. You know what I mean? Like something
Yeah,
happened.
for sure. Yeah,
So
yeah.
it wasn't intentional, and I wouldn't suggest people do this. And I haven't tried doing it again since because what I'm about to tell you occurred is just so bizarre that I didn't know what to make of it. But long story short, I'm sitting there, I'm hearing the song, I'm like pop up, and I'm like, whoa, I'm awake and aware, and it's not like Casper the Ghost, but it's like a silver kind of astral body.
Mhm.
And I'm like, okay, well, I see myself and I still hear the music. So what's going on? Like I didn't have a mental preface for this. Like I just didn't.
Mhm.
It didn't even cross my mind this was possible.
Mhm.
So I was like, all right, well, let's explore this a little. I'm kind of ghost looping around my room, floating, I guess you could say. And then it's like, whoa, this is cool. Let's see my neighborhood. Zoom out. I'm like, oh wow, let's see the Earth. And I'm like, how far can this go? And basically, I went. I don't want to say it like fourth dimension. I don't really know how to put it, but it felt like
Wow.
something. If you've seen Tron, the new movie Tron, not the one that hasn't dropped yet, but the one with Daft Punk doing the soundtrack.
Mhm, mhm.
I forget what it's called. Tron Legacy, I think.
Yeah.
There's something called the Outlands, which is like this kind of dark amorphous thing, but you can definitely see it in Eastern kind of like uh, Taoist kind of art where it's like misty mountains kind of.
Mhm, mhm,
So I
mhm.
was in this like zone where it was like misty mountains, basically like that. It
Hmm.
wasn't very substantial, but it felt like I was in a space, like a psychic vibrational space.
Wow.
And I'm just sitting there, I was like, what the heck? I still hear the music. At this point, it's kicked into one of the songs where and this is like almost like which comes first, chicken or egg. So I'm hearing music, and in the album, the robot is basically pulling a howl where he's like losing his mind. So it's this
Mhm, mhm.
cacophonic choral group doing like crazy stuff. It gets there in a second, but basically that part of the album. So I'm
Okay.
sitting there and I'm chilling, and I was raised Christian, right? But at this point, I wasn't like religious. I wasn't like hardcore or anything. I was just kind of
Right,
culturally aware, and I pay fucking attention. So it's like I know things, but it's not like
right,
I really
right.
participated. That you get what I'm saying? It's like I was like, all
Yeah,
right, yeah,
yeah.
I'm a Christian,
Right,
like
you know the lore. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
culturally, yeah, the lore. I knew the lore. So I'm sitting there, and I'm in this weird space, and all of a sudden I see this dude walking up, and he looks. It's not like he's glowing or any angel annunciations or anything, and he looks Middle Eastern more or less. And he walks up, and it's Jesus. Now, is
Mm,
this like an internal Jesus? Is the actual dude? Like, I'm not even going to argue that. I don't, because the other story I'm going to tell you in a second is on DMT is like, what is an archetype? What's a reflection of like what is going on?
right.
Anyway, so I'm sitting there, and the music's kind of starting to get intense, and it's getting like cacophonic, like it sounds hellish. I can't quite explain it, but it's like in the album, the robot's literally like fragmenting his mind, like he's
Mhm,
losing his
mhm,
mind, and he's
mhm.
like, I'm self-aware, I've lost my mind. So I'm sitting there and I'm hearing this crazy, crazy fucking music. And basically I'm in this, mountainside thing, and he's chilling next to me. And I look down, and it's like the most writhing, inky, dark blackness, almost like an animated black hole. Like if a computer ink was all there was and it was splish splashing. It was just like
Wow.
abyss kind of vibes, like something I didn't want to be a part of. And I'm
Wow.
looking at it, and I was just like, what the heck? And at this point, I'm like, what is going on? Because I wasn't, I'm just a high schooler fucking around with my headphones. Like, I don't give a shit.
right.
This was not on the agenda for the day.
Right.
And basically, I'm just like, like at an existential level, I was like, that's not something I want to go be a part of. Basically,
Right.
is the best way to put
Intuitively,
it.
kind
Yeah, I
of.
was just like, oh no, that's a dimension I don't want to mess with. And
Right.
basically, he looks at me, he's like, I went there, so you didn't have to. And I smash back into my body, and I'm sitting there, and I'm like, what the fuck? I take off the headphones, and I mean, I'm never gonna proselytize. I don't care if people even believe in the historicity or not of Christ or any of this stuff. Like, I'm not going to trip on that. But the idea is, if you were to take the whole kind of idea of Christianity with like atonement and like, whatever is going on with the theology, I got the condensed form version of that, basically, where it's like, look, this is what was avoided on behalf of yourself by my work or whatever. So but at that point I was like, what the heck? I stopped running. I stopped doing all that stuff because I was like, mind numb. I was like, I gotta smoke some weed. I was like, that's too much. So I abandoned. Yeah, I know. It was like a Gnostic kind of moment, but it was heavily Christian. And I've always been like, how much of my cultural, like, if I'm steeped in certain tea, am I going to have tea stains all over me and just see, I don't want to write it off as like
right,
but at the same time, I'm not,
yeah, but I think there is a, I mean, if you, the lore, right, or whatever, I mean, I think there are allusions in that lore to good and evil kind of, thing. So, I mean, that, to me, I'm just hearing like, okay, that was evil, right? That was
or just the absence of God or the absence of consciousness.
Yeah, the shadow, maybe your shadow self, right? Because when you told the story to me, I mean, I don't know if you were telling it like I died for your sins kind of thing, like I went there so you didn't have to, but I felt like it was personal to you, like it was your higher self, an aspect of you that was like, okay, I've experienced these things, and you don't
have to go to the basement.
right almost just saying, this is what if, like, you're feeling my presence right now, like, so like what it feels like, so don't go there if you don't want to feel that presence.
That's definitely a psychological lensing of it. So I mean, it was enough for me to be like, there's more of the picture than meets the eye, right? When you're like, how did you know there was a metaphysical? Now, was that personal mythos? Was that cultural? Was it transcendentally accurate and true beyond, like, was I witnessing another entity, et cetera, et cetera? I don't know. And I don't really push people on that, but when I tell Christians that, they're like, what the fuck? When I tell normal people that, they're like, that's bizarre. And I haven't tried to repeat the experiment, so I don't know if it's a repeatable experiment, but it took so much conditioning and effort, and like, I didn't know what I was doing. It's like I went down the river wild, like that movie with Kevin Bacon. I went down the river and got like into the the deep water rapids without knowing how to swim. So it's like, I don't even know if I can do that again.
So you don't want to go back. Helen is saying perhaps you saw representations of what you were being told.
Right.
Yeah, that's kind of.
I'm not against being like, we're little sponges and we create language models of reality through the stories of our culture. Like, I mean, that's just the way everybody's cultures are. I'm gonna guess that's why Asians see dragons a lot and whatever. It's like these things happen. Now, does that mean dragons are real? I'm not gonna say yes or no, but it's like maybe in some weird
perceptions of something, right?
And maybe there's a dimension where these things are accurate and true. In a multiverse kind of sense, maybe there's a dimension where like Christianity is a very true thing, and then there's other ones where dragons are the lore keepers or whatever. Anyway, so that was a stone cold sober story, and then the other one I'll be quick about. Basically, I had lived in Honolulu for a few years. Yeah, it was really cool. Waikiki for a year, and then downtown Honolulu. I mean, the conditions were weird. It was just an interesting time. I flew there with my brother, who's a drummer, and I'm a guitarist, and we were just like, well, why don't we go to school? Like, let's get as far away from America as we can. And it's like, well, how about there? Because it's still technically America.
Yeah.
So we went with one-way tickets, no like real plan. It made it work like real quick.
So jealous.
Yeah, no, it was a time when I could do that. Now, I mean, I could still do that, but my girlfriend's not like on that wave. Yeah. So it was a bachelor kind of like drinking, heavily kind of mode. Anyway,
but Hawaii, I mean, for me, and not to interrupt you, but the energy, Hawaii, I went totally different, and it was spiritual. I mean, it was, the energy there was insane. Tell me your story, and then maybe I'll tell you.
I'll just tell you real quick about. We can talk about Hawaii because I'm not going to forget the DMT thing. But I've wondered this because locals call it mana or something like that. Like, there's a different kind of energy they're talking about. There's like, obviously it's very Asian. It's in the middle of fucking nowhere, but it's new Earth. It's like volcanic new Earth. So it's got a very different kind of like, I don't even want to say magnetism or something like that, but it feels like it's just got something different energetically. And that sounds so woo. I haven't been to Sedona. I imagine it's something a little like that, where it's just like something's different about this place.
Yeah.
So anyway, I had lived there for a while, and I flew back to the States and crashed with my dad and my brother in Richmond, Virginia, where I grew up, where that astral projection story happened. But he was somewhere else at this point. This is after the divorce and everything. So he was in some townhouse, and I was delivering pizzas, and I was just like drinking 4, tall boy paps every night and smoking bongs. Like I was just like totally bachelor. Like I don't give a fuck. Like it was just like Beavis and Butthead coasting, right?
Right.
So and I'm always going to be kind of like trickstery or whatever, but like it was very indulgent and just kind of like
Listen, that's a modality to be
the dude about it. It was the Big Lebowski mode, 1000%. So anyway, so I'm delivering pizzas and stuff, and I'm smoking weed and selling it to smoke it for free or whatever. And I'm just kind of getting bored, I guess you could say. So I hit up my dude one night. I'm like, I don't want coke or heroin or anything like that. And like I had done acid before, and it had like really freaked me out. I love LSD now, but like at the time, like it was just like basically I went to a concert and I took 2 hits and I was like, whoa, and I walked out of the concert and I was just like out of my skull. So not a fun time particularly. So, and I had smoked weed. It was just like a clusterfuck of a fail. Anyway, so I go to my dude and I'm like, do you have anything like harder, but not like hard, like hard drugs? And he's like, oh, here, you can have some DMT. And I'm like, I've heard Terrence McKenna talk about it, like it's just lectures and stuff, and so I understood intellectually it was like Mount Olympus of psychedelics. But for some reason, I thought I was just going to do it, and it was going to be like Van Gogh vision, like mushrooms, like intense mushrooms or something.
Okay.
So he's like, "Here you go," and I was like, "All right, thanks." So it's like this like orange little crystalline situation going on, and I go home. It's like 2 a.m. after because I had basically did my pizza deliveries on a Tuesday night or whatever. And I could go to him to score, and then I'm like, all right, I guess I'll just do this tonight or whatever. It's like that kind of situation, because I'd heard it's like the businessman's trip. It's like in and out operation, 5 minutes kind of thing. So, and I don't want to rant forever about drugs. I get not everybody's into them, but this is a profound. You asked,
I think it's important that people like that's what I'm about, like sharing experiences, right? Like, hey, what do you know? What do you know? Let's all share it so that we can figure it out. You know what I mean?
Fill in the map, fill in the gaps, and my experience is not the truth. I'm definitely a Sun and Gemini about it. Yeah, so I'm not like this is how it is, but it makes me question a lot of things. So because this is what you asked originally. So anyway, basically I go home. I'm like, all right, I imagine it was like 2 or 3/10 of a gram kind of thing. But basically I put it on top of some weed, and I was like, I just know I have to hit it and hold my breath, because Terrence McKenna was pretty explicit about like, hold it. So I was like, all right, I'm gonna do this. I put in earbuds or whatever, had headphones on at the time of listening to Philip Glass's Kayana soundtrack, because I was just like, oh yeah, I'll just listen to some minimalism, I'll just see like whatever. I was just so underestimating what was going to occur. So which is maybe for the best. It's a little like the other thing where it's like, if I had known I was going to astral project, would I have even done it?
Right.
So it's just jumping out of the plane being like, oh, I guess I'm skydiving now. So basically, put it on the thing, I toke it and hold my breath, and like literally within about a second, I'm like, I get the psychic kind of ping where I'm like, a tsunami is like energetically coming. I just know internally, intuitively, I'm like, oh shit, kind of the vibes, right? We're like, whoa. And I'm not going to lose my breath over this. I'm holding it. And all of a sudden, from like the lowest perceivable frequency, it's like, and it's like basically that's what they call it, blasting off, right?
Yeah.
So it hits this high frequency, and all of a sudden I'm collapsing to my knees, looking up at my ceiling fan light, and it turns into a Sahasrara chakra. Basically, it's like splintering into a million lotus petals. It's like, and I pop through it, and as soon as I pop through it, this is all open-eyed by myself, I should say, right? And I'm not suggesting anybody do this, because I've smoked DMT since, and I've always got like someone with me, and I haven't had
I would have even thought of doing it by myself. I've never done it, but I don't think I would do it unsupervised.
I was just like, fuck it, let's, but so all of a sudden I'm like, it's almost like a double vision where it's like I can see my room, I'm in my room, and I'm overwhelmed kind of like sensatorially, because I can see like another dimension. Like it's almost like Lord of the Rings when he puts on the ring, but instead of having like one or the other, it was like both at the same time. Or it's like, whoa, I can see through the reality.
Right.
Like I'm in my room, but I'm also in a subterranean temple. Like it has
Wow.
like Enochian writing everywhere or something, and I'm just like, what the fuck? Because I had no readiness for this. I had no bearing. So basically, I'm sitting there. I rip off the headphones at this point. I'm like, whoa! As cool as Philip Glass is, I was just like, I can't handle that. I'm touching my heart. I'm being like, am I dead? Like, did I just lose my mind? Like, it felt like death, but not in a bad way, but more or less like, I mean, essentially when you do this, it fucks with your pineal gland, and that's the dream juice center. And when you die, you secrete the stuff naturally. So it's like, I think, overload that circuit and you're walking through the veil, so to speak.
Right.
So
Your physical self is not.
I don't know. I mean, because I was still, it's not like I was sitting there being like I was like, whoa, like in my room, like, what's going on? So I'm looking around and I'm like touching my heart, being like, I like in my mind, I'm like, did I lose my mind? Am I dead? Like that kind of thinking is going on. This is T minus like 2 seconds, 3 seconds after breaking through. Yeah, because it's like it only lasts 2 or 3 minutes. But anyway, I'll give you kind of a clock. So basically, I look over, I'm like touching my heart probably, and there's this Mesoamerican kind of like Aztecian Mayan looking frog, the size of like my torso, strobe lighting. It's like, and it's basically it's like looks at me. It's like, you're not dead. Stop freaking out. But quit smoking. You're killing yourself. And at that point, like I was smoking like an eighth a day, or smoking weed. Like that's why I got this in this situation at all. So I mean, I was like doing drugs, right? So immediately, yeah, no, I was smoking mad weed, like gravity bong too. So it's just like chimney. Yeah, I told you I was a pot zombie. So it was like pothead stuff. Anyway, this frog is telling me like, yo, you're not dead, but this is hurting you or whatever. And like to my mind, like, or out loud, like at this point it felt like I was a part of like some kind of something that's ineffable. I mean, the colors and the everything that's happening is like not possible to describe. And when you see tie dyes or like even like your background, that's like the faintest version of what this is. It's just like but here's the trip. It felt like I was actually awake for the first time in my life. Like I have always been asleep in the Matrix or something. Now it's like, whoa, this is the real version. Okay.
Yeah.
So basically, I look. I'm like, and that frog disappears. This is T minus 5 seconds. I'm just in there, and I'm like, am I dead? Like I'm still like, what's going on? Like he said, I'm not dead, and I should quit smoking. So it's like taking a second to even understand on like existentially what's occurring.
Right.
So I didn't expect this episode to be a trip report, but I'll be quick. So basically, I'm sitting on my knees still, right? Like because I collapsed with the whole Sahasrara ceiling fan stitch. And I'm still on my knees. I'm like, what the heck in my room? But like I'm looking at my drawers and my, my door, my wall, but like I'm in a temple and it looks like way before Egypt. Like you know how the Sphinx is supposed to be way older or whatever. It was kind of that vibe. It was subterranean and it's like this is like old.
Wow.
Like I can't quite explain it, but it was like this is like, and I say Enochian writing. It was just like weird writing that was not hieroglyphics, but it had some alien vibration to it, right? And basically I look over to my bed and there's these balls of light, and I would call them like conscious, I guess, like sprites or something. There's like blue orbs and stuff, and they're kind of just like dancing or jostling, and I was kind of like, huh, that's interesting. And then I mean it was like in and out operation where I'm just like, okay, cool, what was that? T minus 8 seconds, 10 seconds, whatever. And then I look across my room, and standing in front of me is like a 12-foot tall fucking Egyptian deity, basically, like the body of a man with the head of an animal.
Oh my God.
Correct. And I was like, what? And it's looking at me, and it's like Guardian of the Threshold style stuff where it felt like I was in a club. Like it felt like I had come to a club or whatever, a turf energetically, and it's like basically it was looking at me and it scanned me psychically. Like I could feel my essence being like barcode read. It was like, and I was like, and I can't do that back to it, basically.
Right.
And I should point out, it's like the most masculine, brooding, like heavy Plutonian, Saturnian kind of like bouncer at the club, like, where's your ID? Kind of like vibes.
Right.
And it basically, to my mind, it says, well, at first I'm just getting the vibe. It's like, like, who are you? What are you? Like kind of vibe check. And I'm just sitting there and I'm not saying anything or doing anything. I'm just like kind of flabbergasted. And this is T minus 10 seconds, 15 seconds or whatever. I'm just like, what is going on? And basically it to my mind, it was not out loud. It was like psychically. It was like, I know you're, I scanned you. I know you're a Christian. Like say what you got to say or whatever. Say the code. And the only thing I said during this whole trip was Jesus is Lord or some weird Christianese like that, right?
Mhm.
And as soon as I said it, it went from this deep, like dark, like Anubis kind of energy, right? Where it's like heavy and stuff, and it kind of ascended as like you said the code, and then all of a sudden it goes to this like Shekinah, rainbow Isis, like female
Wow.
colorful energy, and it's like ding ding ding, right answer, and like totally the equal opposite polarity. And then all of a sudden it cuts into my gut, like in my belly, goes through my belly, and all of a sudden my chakras like dug, 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 dug. And I literally, I mean, I had a Kundalini awakening, which I wasn't expecting, right? All of a sudden my Kundalini's ripped through me or whatever, and I'm like, I'm so high. I mean, I'm already high, but I'm so
Right.
high, like it's the no orgasm, no drug, nothing, like pure bliss, I guess you could
Vibration.
say.
Yeah.
I'm so overwhelmed that I take off all my clothes, reverse Garden of Eden style. I'm like, like, why am I wearing clothes? This is so unnecessary. I'm just sitting there kind of being like, wow, like we're God looks at us as perfect. Like we're not, I can't even put it into words, but basically I was just like, coming down like
Mhm.
at that point, because it was only like 30 seconds or whatever, but basically coming down, I was in my room and just like naked on a Tuesday night at 4 a.m. being like, God
Wow.
looks at us as perfect. And
Right.
and literally all my, I go to my friends at the pizza place the next day. I'm like, Valhalla's real. Like every myth is probably real. There's
Right.
got to be a dimension to this. Like there's so
Right.
much
Right.
more
Right. Right.
to
Right.
yeah. So those are the two stories that kind of, one sober and one is not at all sober.
Right.
And those are the kind of the experiences that made me, I mean, it's cool to be like, hey, maybe there's more. I want to believe X-Files stuff, but this was like existentially in the soup of it. Like I was in the
Right.
shit,
Right.
like in
Right.
the
Right.
Vietnam style. Like I was like, I was
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
there,
Well, yeah.
man.
You definitely were changed by those
Yeah,
experiences
alchemized, yeah.
for sure.
And
So now,
yeah,
at that point,
I'll shut up now.
were you already kind of doing astrology and tarot at
No,
that
not at
point? Not at
0%.
all. Not
Not
at
at all. I was aware as a Gemini, like a sun sign thing. And the hilarious part is if I think it was 11/11, like November 11th in 2011 when I did the
Mhm.
DMT or something. It was like 11/11 portal kind of thing.
Mhm.
And it's Scorpio season. I mean, there's a lot of, I could start trying to reverse engineer the conditions kind of thing,
Right.
but it's
Right.
like, yeah, I mean, it was right before 2012,
Right.
right? And that's really when I started waking up more to like Alan Watts, Terrence
Sure.
McKenna,
Sure. Sure.
Tarot, astrology. So anyway,
Do you believe that there was like a global element to that in 2012?
oh, well, I mean, okay, so we're shifting gears completely now. So,
Yeah.
I
A
know
little bit.
that in a Baktun sense, like the Mayans, right? We're
Mhm.
like, okay, look, this is the fifth age. Like we got this thing dialed in with clocks, and once the galactic centers crossed, I mean, it's like an astronomical event that occurred more or less.
Right. Right.
It's not so much like woo. It's like, hey, we're crossing the galactic plane in a new way, and that
Right.
means different kind of photons are going to hit us from the galactic center in a different way, and whatever.
Mhm.
Um, Yes, I think that's a threshold. I mean, if people look back for the past decade, I can't even believe it's only been 13 years. It's felt like many lifetimes. I mean, even since COVID, and that wasn't that long ago.
Mhm.
It feels like just like, and I can't speak for anybody else, but it felt like life was a very different kind of dream before
Yeah.
that,
Oh, yeah.
and participating with it felt like just more predictable,
Mhm. Mhm.
more
Mhm.
understandable, maybe more linear.
Yep.
Now we're
Yep.
getting
Yep.
into quantum stuff. I don't know if this is
Sure.
CERN hadron colliding, wormhole ripping, or
Yep.
if this
Yep.
is
Yep.
straight up, we're on the conveyor belt of a timeline that is unavoidable.
Right.
But yeah, I do think, I mean, in my best times, like there's a deck on I have the Team Rabbit Hole podcast, obviously, and we had Leo King on there. He's a great astrologer and a DJ. This
Mhm.
is a while ago during the COVID stuff,
Mhm.
probably
Mhm.
2020, 2021. Anyway, at the end of it, it was a 4-hour podcast, which is like the longest one we had. But at the end of it, I was reading, I don't have it on me, but there's this Mayan card deck that I had, and they were kind of talking about like the rainbow children and the sun runners, and you guys are, the galactic light is here. It just had this beautiful like story to it,
Mhm.
where it's
Mhm.
like we've asked to be part of an alchemizing moment where like spirit is becoming aware of itself through materiality, and
Mhm.
it's like that kind of shift. Like this doesn't always happen. It's not a
Yeah.
guaranteed thing. And now you've initiated into the philosopher's gold mode, or that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it was like 2 or 3 pages. I read it. So if people want to hear it, they can go hear it at that. I'll try to find it and maybe post in the comments after this. But
Okay.
it was really beautiful. It's very new agey, very hyper woo, and all sorts of like whatever. Rainbow
Right.
Warriors, stand up. You've been wanting to do this for many lifetimes. You've
Right.
asked to come here. All the hurts and hangups and all this stuff are like, these are not mistakes. Like you're
Right.
here to, like, the more like we've forgotten this, and we're light bringers, and the light
Mhm.
bringers are going to be in the densest places,
Mhm.
resonating to alchemize the collective in those pockets. And then at some point it's going to be a fever pitch, i.e. like 2012 type stuff, to
Mhm.
the degree that like now the machine's momentum's here. We can't, terminal velocity is coming.
Right.
We
Right.
can't
Right. Right.
avoid this.
Right.
So I'm getting
I
goosebumps
think
just thinking about
I
it.
think
I
that
mean,
we're at that. Yeah, I
yeah,
mean, I think that's where we are right now. If we were
right.
to look at a chart, because you said it really well. And I think there are a lot of people that feel the same way. That the way I expressed it was when I was growing up, I felt comforted by a certain certainty. Like, you know what I mean?
Predictability, or a trajectory that's
And I
knowable.
don't right. And I don't think it's necessarily just the political situations that are going on right now. But
Hmm. There are
I will say
piece of it.
part of that certainty was like, oh, if something happens, the government will protect us, and like kind of that faith in the government that certainly is in a different place collectively than it was. Some people have upped the ante and believe in the government more than ever.
Well,
And
that's like
some
the
people,
Dolores Cannon split. I don't know if you're into her at all, but she's like, look, we're going to come. I mean, Dolores Cannon,
yeah,
Bashar,
yeah, yeah,
everybody's kind of saying, like, look, there's this bifurcating moment. And there's going to
absolutely.
be people that go on the Death Star, and there's going to be people that want to do the Ewok Village thing.
Right.
And we're all still part of the same dream, but like you're going to resonate less and less with certain pockets. And
That's right.
how are you going to do that? Like, it's
That's right.
like,
That's right.
I mean, Mr. Anderson was still, Neo was still technically Mr. Anderson at some level, but like he started bifurcating pretty hard in the film, right?
Right.
And the hard part, I think, with all that is like how not to be solipsistic, right? Where we think it's all, I mean, maybe it is all just me and you guys are all figments of my dream or whatever.
Mhm.
But that's very depressing. if I'm fully responsible for Epstein Island and Puff Daddy and all this stuff, I'm like, God damn it, I'm an ass. So I'd like to think it's a collective dream more than just
Right.
on
Right.
me.
Right.
But how do we graciously go? I mean, this is the Buddhist thing, right? The compassion. How do we go about because even in Buddhism, there's this sect of Buddhism is like there's the Bodhisattva, which is like, I'm gonna come back and forgo nirvana, and I'm telling you that there's the light, walk to the light, or whatever, like that kind of trip, like get out of the muck, go that way. And then
Right.
there's the Arhat, which is like everything is exactly in the right place, like nothing. If you want to play that game, you can. It's not necessary. Like there's nothing that can be improved
Doesn't matter.
upon.
Right.
Yeah, it's like
Right.
this is it. It is what it is.
Yeah.
Arcade Fire has a great line where it's like we're born in a diamond mine, but we can't see it, kind of thing.
Right.
It's like this. We are in the the Buddhic crystalline form, but we're playing games of language and perception to play out games like cops and robbers. Like when kids, we're talking about movies and shit earlier. It's like when you go to a movie, you suspend your belief. The DMT kind of made me realize we've suspended our belief either by choice or not. I couldn't even tell you. And we've entered into a dimension of corporeality that feels it's like a full-on VR. I mean, we are consciousness in a meat suit, and these are the articulating forms of the experiential machine or whatever.
No, and what I love about this conversation and these kinds of conversations, as much as I don't like them, right? Because they just kind of like they don't end up going anywhere.
No, if people have had it, they go, I know what you mean.
Yeah, but
if people don't, they're like, you're insane. Oh my god.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't know if you know who Donald Hoffman is.
No,
Donald Hoffman is a guy who comes from the scientific background, neurology, and studying the brain, and kind of very early kind of being involved with like the idea of AI trying to replicate what the brain is doing. And now suddenly he's out there not prophesizing, but supporting the idea that reality is a virtual headset. Like that, we are not experiencing reality for what it is.
Well, spirituality's always kind of said that, but they said it in different terms. And now that we're a post-technological, we're a little after modernity, so we're like steam engines and computers. Like we're speaking about it in nuts and bolts and hardware and the Matrix. Like the Matrix really is a turning point. That was the millennium. It came out in '99. I remember watching it with my friends and my girlfriend, like laying on me, and being like, "Whoa." And I mean, yes, we've had Plato's Cave,
Mhm.
but this was a suspension of belief and an entering into a new mythos that made it on so many levels, whether it was Occupy Wall Street kind of stuff going on at that
Mhm,
point, because that
mhm,
was
mhm,
right
mhm.
around 9/11.
Yep.
I mean, there was just so many levels. And then
Yeah.
at the same time, you don't want to just be this like, I mean, how would I put it? It's easy to be a nihilistic brat who
Mhm.
just hates the man. It's like how can you be aware of the change necessary and be part of the change
Right.
instead of just being a commentator who is cynical and says, trust nothing. It's like,
Right.
well, I'm trusting English to verify my thoughts to you now.
Right.
I mean, I understand. This is I get sometimes with Raphael on this stuff because he's really into Tartaria and history resets and all this kind of stuff.
Mhm,
And
mhm.
I'm not going to speak for him. He's a Libra, but he gets to this place where he's almost and I've got to say this carefully because he's my friend and my co-host,
Yeah, yeah.
where I
No
feel
judgment.
like he says, he doesn't say this, but he has this energy of like, trust nothing that we've been told.
Right.
And I don't think it's, I mean, if there's a fucking ice wall and the earth is flat kind of thing, which I don't prescribe to that idea,
Right,
but if that's
right,
the
right,
case, it's like we are so far gone,
right.
and that like we're playing with sandcastles while Rome is burning over there or whatever.
Right.
So it gets tricky. And I don't think the idea is to be disempowered. It's a
Right.
paradox because I think we need to know how small we are in the scheme of things.
Mhm,
And
mhm,
yet we're so contingently important and embedded
mhm,
that, I mean, paradox is the only word I could say. It's like
mhm,
Mr.
mhm.
Anderson is nothing and he is the one. Oh my gosh. So yeah, I'm rambling, but the idea is like
No, see, so again, I feel like this is important, and I love doing this because I do see a lot of people out there, especially with the how easy it is to do something on a platform like this,
mm,
expressing all sorts of different ideas, right?
which is
And
perfectly in line with the astrology. Like we're
absolutely,
entering the age of Aquarius.
yeah,
So
yeah,
themes, high weirdness, technology, the
yeah,
internet is an extension of our psyches, like in a Marshall
right,
McLuhan sense. So it's like
right,
this is perfectly not predictable, but like understandable.
right.
You know,
Right, but
this is how
so
we're coping
so
in a
I
sense.
think I think the reason that you and I hit it off so well and why we love talking to each other is because we're kind of aligned
Mm,
vibrationally, right? And I think to be more specific about that is the idea of good and evil,
mhm.
right? The idea of light and shadow. And being able to like when you were saying maybe dragons exist and kind of saying the word maybe, you say the word maybe the way I say the word maybe, right?
Yeah, I'm
From
not
the
going to rule
heart,
out possibilities.
right? From
Like,
from the heart,
yeah,
not like, oh, maybe, like, yeah,
no,
right,
I'm not
but like,
facetious
you know
about
what?
it.
Like,
Yeah,
I would
yeah.
I would love I would love to be shown that as a fact. Like, I don't know it's a fact because I haven't seen a dragon, but damn, I would love to
No, I
see
saw a dragon once on acid during a blood moon,
it.
that looked like the thing from Spirited Away. It was like a white kind of gold dragon.
Wow.
And I mean, yeah. So what? I mean, dude, I was on drugs, but at the same time, I was like, I've met my dragon,
Right.
or something.
Sure.
I mentioned to you earlier, but you could see it kind of. That's the H.R. Geiger
Oh,
picture,
yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
And it is a yin yang in a sense. It's masculine, feminine, kind of scary, death,
Mhm, mhm.
aliens vibes. H.R. Geiger's crazy.
I
I
love
feel like
HR. Yeah,
I feel like he did heroin and meth at the same time and just like sat there or
yeah.
something. It's like he's
He definitely was
he had a
pulling that
vibe.
stuff from somewhere. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot of especially his tarot deck has a lot of phallic sexual stuff. It's
Right,
interesting, and I
right.
should say really quick, I mentioned in the Facebook comment that you're like HR. I was like, of course you get it. I went to Switzerland. I was there at this Christian think tank for a year, helping out, like kind of almost like the RA of a college, but at this thing. Anyway, it was next to Gruyere or nearby, like not far. Gruyere cheese is made there. I'm a vegan now, but if
Mhm.
you guys know Gruyere cheese, this is where it's from. And the H.R. Geiger bar slash museum is there. And if
Ooh,
you guys do yourselves a favor, look online and the H.R. Geiger bar,
that
it's like you're
sounds good.
inside of this like it's like the bar. It looks like inside of an alien set or inside of a whale or something. It's so
Well, inside
surreal.
of if you're familiar with his artwork, it's like
Mm,
you're in one of his pieces. It's
it
like
is. It is
yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah.
And the only time I've ever, excuse me, the only time I've ever thought I experienced a ghost was in that bar. I was sitting
Oh,
there with my
wow.
dad, and he came to visit, or he was in Europe already, and I was there, so he's like, "I'll come see you." And we're at the bar, so I wasn't sober. I had like a couple pints probably, but I'm sitting there and I'm looking over this candle and it's snuffed out for no reason. And sure, the air of the room could have fluctuated. I just caught this vibe of like there is a presence that just did that. Like I couldn't,
Wow.
and I don't even say I believe in ghosts. I don't even,
Right,
I
right,
don't
right,
care. But I'm like,
right.
if I ever saw a ghost or
But
experience
you don't not
that,
believe, which is, I think, that's more important.
well,
It's
air
like,
signs, man. We're
right.
open minded.
Yeah, yeah. No, I think that's the important thing, and that's kind of what I was saying about why I think we vibe, right? It's
Oh, yeah.
because there's a lot of stuff going on. I do agree. Like, we haven't been told the truth and everything that but I'm not angry about it, and I know that regardless, I have to exist within that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we've had this conversation about light and dark. It's not about light defeating the dark and eliminating the dark. Dark is the other side of light. So, like, light is this side and dark is this side, and they're a part of each other.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that both you and I subscribe to that, and it's easier to deal with now. That's not to say we like the dark. I mean, I certainly do my best to stay away from things that are dark, that don't feel good to me, you know what I mean? But I'm a little bit fascinated by it, certainly, because it's like my shadow, you know what I mean? It's like a part of me that I need to accept. And I
I'm
think
sure
that's
Luke Skywalker was scared, but also a little titillated by that dark cave.
right,
Right,
exactly.
where he's like, "What's going on here?"
Right,
Like he
right,
still wandered through it. He wasn't like, "No," like
exactly.
I want to say one or two things, and then I'll be quiet because I don't know how long you
No,
want to talk.
no,
But
we're good.
in high school, I play guitar, right? You play bass. In high school, I had all these multi effects pedals, right? I had like individual pedals, and my dad made this board, and it was cool. So I had like my wah and overdrive and all these pedals, and on
Right.
with like mailbox lettering,
Yeah.
I put the word possibility on there because I was like, anything's possible.
Hmm,
You
hmm.
just you have to experience it. So
Yeah.
when we talk about dragons or whatever, it's like I don't sit around like, and I got to be careful how I say this. It's like Frank Zappa said it really well. There's a market for everything, right? So it's like
Right,
if you're
right,
into
right.
something, you're going to be into it, whether it's light or dark. I mean, there's people who are like take pictures of my feet for a living or whatever. Like there's a market for Epstein Island shows you this. There's a market for
Yeah,
everything.
yeah,
So if your thing is dragons, I'm not saying it's like upset you. I think dragons are cool, but they're not like my linchpin of ontology or something like that. Although I've heard, tale from New Age people and stuff. It's like these are the guardian keepers. This is the kind of serpent mythology at an archetypal level in a certain frequency band. Like I'm not against that.
hmm, hmm.
Like, am I running around expecting to see like Loch Ness monster with wings? Not particularly every day, but if it happens,
Right,
I'd be like, hell yeah, this is
right.
cool. Like, I mean, I'm open to it.
Totally. No,
So
I think that's great. I think that's important, and I feel like I remember coming up with these ideas. Like, I channel these thoughts and make little memes, right? And one of them said something about the universe is expanding. Anytime you come up with a thought,
mhm.
it didn't exist before, and now that thought exists. So the universe needs to accommodate that thought. So it's expanded to because now it exists. Now something that didn't exist before exists, or maybe it did. There's the idea of the energy of things, of ideas and thoughts that exist, and we're just tuning into them,
Mm.
right? So that maybe somebody else thought of that idea, but I just now tuned into that same frequency. But
Well, I
I
think
guess
that happens in cultures a lot, where you'll see various people in different parts of the world. Is kind of a noosphere is the idea, or in
Mhm,
Rupert Sheldrake, I've had him on the podcast, but he has
mhm,
this idea of morphic fields, resonance fields, where it's
mhm.
like, how do all flowers know how to do this genetically, or
Right.
whatever? It's just like there's a habit within the framework of the energy of the universe that tends to move a certain way. And
Sure.
I mean, that sounds really magical and weird and woo and stuff. But on the one hand, Terrence McKenna was like, when you think you're thinking a thought, you're actually listening.
Right.
Right. So it's like,
Yep. Yep. Yep.
who's the person thinking so it gets into this thing where we're just conduits of like the
Sure.
universe experiencing itself, quite frankly. And then the
Sure.
other thing might be with the Bashar type level where it's like, non-existence doesn't exist. There's no, anything that can't exist does in some
Right.
multi-dimensional.
Totally.
And when we think multi-dimensional, we're like, oh, maybe there's like, Freaky Friday. There's another version of me. It's like infinite parallel universes means we can't even fathom. It's like, oh,
Right.
look, there's the next one over. It's like just the letter J is like 2 degrees different, and then like that kind of thing, all the
Right.
way to where it's like, oh, fundamentally different and alien to our ability to even comprehend, possibly.
Yeah. No. Totally. Listen. this is what I love. I love like just talking about these things and contemplating them, and then just, you know, I think what happens is new things, you know, kind of new ideas come. And I just had one. Oh my god. Oh, so it was I'd heard this before, but I had never really knew where it came from. And it was a guy named Penrose
Oh yeah,
who said we didn't invent math, we discovered it. And
Right.
and it's like, holy crap. And now that's the sentiment that's out there about AI. There are people who are saying, oh no, we didn't invent AI, we're just like now coming to the technological point where we've tuned into it.
Sure.
You know
That
what I
wouldn't
mean?
surprise me, because
Yeah.
it gets into language and cultural barriers. Good. You mean you were raised religious? It's like I've said this before with you. It's like, look, let's say you have a burning bush moment. How do you translate that to other people?
Right.
Like, if there's truths that are bigger than the culture can apprehend, how do you move forward in the evolution of comprehension? It's in steps. It's you know, lisped at best. Like,
Right.
you know, there's truths that are so big that like I mean, this gets tricky because I believe in evolution. Although, I mean, I know, you know, some people like Raphael and stuff are like, that's so stupid, it's a psyop, blah blah blah. And I'm like, okay, well, I don't know if we come from Atlantis. I don't know any of this stuff. I don't know if there's an ice wall. But in terms of evolution, it's like it makes sense to me that like the conditions of the movie set had to get to a certain place for the ability for this meat suit to hold the bandwidth of the conduit that we are doing.
Yeah.
Right. If that
I
makes
agree.
sense.
I
So
agree with that. Yeah.
I mean, that's even in 2001: A Space Odyssey. Not to blow too much out of it, but the premise of that whole thing is like, look, there's this object, the monolith, that is clearly technological and advanced, if you want to put it that way, and not it, like one of these things isn't like the other. It's like this is an inserted object that literally basically apes on the Serengeti. If they hear a frequency and some are like repulsed and run away, it's like they don't make the evolutionary cut. The ones that go up and touch it, they're our ancestors. And eventually you get to the people who are like, we got to the moon.
Right.
And they're like, we found another monolith. Oh, now it's pointed to Jupiter. It's like these
It's
are
so great. Like, I mean, it's amazing how timeless that is, and how
perfect.
how deep it is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, oh, wait a second. And it's unfortunate. I do feel like most of society is walking around zombified. You know what I mean? And not
Okay, here's
real-
a trip. Here's a thought, because I totally get it. Usually I'm like, oh my god, I'm so woke. Not so woke, but it's like, man, I like the
and I don't judge
philosopher's
them.
dilemma.
Yeah.
You know, the philosopher's like, you got to think that Socrates or whoever, artists and Beethoven's or whatever, are like, god damn it, like, would you guys please just stop raping and pillaging everything or whatever? Like, just feel like way ahead of it. But I once had this momentary glimpse of this, and I was like, oh, this is such an interesting idea. I don't dwell here, I gotta say. I'm like, what if everybody else is awake and I'm the last one to wake up?
Right.
It's like depending on me. I'm instead of like I'm the top of the pyramid, I get it all. It's like I'm the bottom of the fucking pyramid. I'm the last one to get into the door. Like, oh shit.
Imagine, right? Totally.
Yeah.
What's up, Hat Pals? Are good to see you. Amazing.
Holographic fractal epiphanies, man. That's what it's all about. Because that's what it is. It's a holographic fractal.
Absolutely. I mean, and again, that's what I said at the beginning of the show. I love it because this is my moment to be intentional and bring you and have a conversation and hang out, and people. It's like a virtual party. It's amazing. I had you on Holding Space on Tuesday, and that show is more about holding space for you and who you are. And so you were able to kind of show who you were and some of the things you do. We didn't even really talk about it other than mentioning Tarot, the Target version of the tarot. And
the bougie.
yeah. So I want people to know where they can see you, because I enjoy your morning readings. You do tarot readings every morning on Facebook. Brother
Pretty
Jim,
much every day. Yeah,
Brother Jim is
so
where.
if you go to Facebook, and I am see, this is where it gets tricky because algorithms are fucking crazy, and sometimes like I was in Richmond, Virginia with my girlfriend, and I was like, oh look, I went to some like, you know, a cult store, and this girl was cool, and I was like, oh, you might like the podcast / let's be friends, because I was geeking out about her chart like pro bono. And basically I was like, here, I'll add you on my Facebook. And it's like it's not always just lickety split. Like like if you look up Jim Kincaid, you may or may not see a picture of me. So I'm my name is Jim Kincaid, clearly. You could probably find me if you do hashtag Team Rabbit Hole. That's the meme page. It's got 13,000 followers or something like that. I'm not that active on there anymore, but that's where the podcast came from. I mean, at some point I was just making memes about waking up and psychedelics and stuff. And then basically Raphael heard my DMT trip that I mentioned tonight I had written that on the internet somewhere, and he was like, I was actually tripping on acid when he called me, and I thought he was like some spy from East Germany or something. I was just like, what is going on? Like, should I answer this? Anyway, so we started geeking out. He would talk about Bashar while I was tripping and all sorts of stuff. Anyway, people can find me on Facebook. That's where I'm most active, even though I do have a TikTok now, and a YouTube. Basically, I go on live every morning that I can and pull 3 cards and kind of geek out about the astrology for 20, 30 minutes. I interact a little, like I've seen you commenting, but like channeling is a strong word, but it's like I'm in the zone.
Yeah, you're more in your zone. Yeah, yeah, which is cool. I think it's cool. I feel bad sometimes. I'm like, oh, I don't want to.
No, it's not. I love looking back, and people are there to participate. I mean, sometimes a lot of people are there, sometimes not that many.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
My goal and the whole point of my doing that is like, I love kind of poking my head up like a little gopher in the morning and be like, what the fuck is going on? Let's like put a finger to the Dow and get a pulse here.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're into it, it's cool and it's free to tune in. You can tip if you want. But yeah, that's every morning basically. Daily card jam is what I call it, because like I said, I used to jam. Like I do the thing and then be like, all right, I just pulled the Queen of Swords with the 2 of Cups. This is what I'm gonna do. And like I jam with my loop pedal for like 5 minutes. Yeah. YouTube is Jim Kincaid also. TikTok is Brother Jim. What I was saying is Facebook is like live, and the first thing I do, like basically I wake up, get coffee, and sit down and do it. And then after that, like after that's loaded and stuff, I go on and re-record a 10-minute kind of, it's the same thing, same cards, but it's like a little more quick, a little more condensed for TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. Because that's just the limit there. I'm not, as soon as I get 1,000 people on TikTok, I'm at like 970 or something like that. I can go live on there. I don't have anybody following me.
I think you're going to be really successful there, because one of my friends, Minty May, who I've had on the show, he's an amazing reader. He's been doing it since he's 5 years old, taught from his grandmother. Like really, really, really amazing. Like you would love him. You would love Minty May.
I gotta I'll check it out.
But he really has a good following. Yeah, he was 13 years old doing psychic fairs with his grandmother, like reading tarot for people. Yeah. And he's amazing. He's from London. He looks like a Viking. He's got a big red beard, and like, yeah, he's
send me his name after this, or
I'll definitely hook you up with him,
because I was like, he's gonna come on the podcast. What the fuck?
Yeah, you'll definitely love him. But my point is, I think you'll do really well on tarot. On TikTok, because I think there's an interest there for energetic readings and people doing things that are sometimes considered woo, but I think the authentic people really cut through. You know what I mean? So, and I find you to be really authentic. Do you feel like you can give us a moment?
I can do that. I should say
the morning.
When I started waking up or whatever, Instagram wasn't barely a thing. I didn't really mess with YouTube, because once COVID hit and stuff, Raphael and I were doing the podcast, and he was like, we can't talk about this stuff on YouTube. He continued doing his YouTube thing, so he's got followers, and Andreas is my friend. So Andreas, Exertus. I introduced Raphael to him to each other. But anyway, the point is, there's some things I just didn't get much on, so that's why I'm mostly on Facebook. But I was basically, I think I mentioned this last time, I look at like the posts I make is like hyper sigils. So like if you like humor, memes, quotes of the stuff I'm resonating with or whatever, you'll just find it interesting and funny, and that can translate to other domains, but I feel like Facebook, it works the best. So anyway, you want some cards, you're saying?
Yeah, let's wrap this up with the energetic reading.
Do you want any particular tarot, animal, crystal, alien, fairy? What you feeling?
I want you to feel what you're feeling.
Okay. Let's do, I mean, I'm looking, it's not that exciting, but it's a good deck. Crystals, the stone deck.
Yeah.
It's got some sassy. Basically every morning I pull a main tarot card from this deck, which is here. I'll just hold this one up. I mentioned last time.
Hold on. Yeah, let me make you bigger here.
Here. All right. Well, he's been on the podcast a few times. David DeAngelis. This is the David Bowie Starman Tarot deck. That's like my main drug of choice. So I pull a card from there, and then I pull a clarifying card from my spirit like Halloween store tarot cards. They have them, and these are kind of cartoony and Halloweenish, but they replaced the zombie ones that I had told you about before, because somebody was like, that's so low dimensional, so 4D, don't do it. Like kind of made me switch gears many years ago. So I just kind of plus I lost the other deck, so I'm like, whatever, I'll just keep doing that.
And you know what, it's interesting to me, I've come across, not to interrupt you, but I've come across people who are very, very particular about that low vibrate, right? Like, so cursing or mentioning certain things, like I've had to actually change things up on the podcast just to accommodate somebody because of that. And I do, because I'm very respectful.
You're a Libra with a Venus conjunct Sun, so you're gonna be nice about
I
it.
just
You play
find it
nice.
interesting, like it's like, one of my things in life is control. Like, what? Why are you trying to control shit? Like, there's
Yeah, I
no
hear you.
way you're gonna control shit. You know what I mean? So it's
Yeah.
like going with the flow is my thing, but
Well, with
and that's
that,
what I
some
do.
people are spiritual. I mean, look, egotism can enter spiritual domains in a
Sure.
sense, if you want to put it that way. So if
Absolutely.
someone's like, "Well, my shit doesn't stink, and I never go that way," it's like that's where they're at. That's what they're playing with. I could probably look at their charts and tell you why,
Right, right,
or
right, right.
whatever. It's like, all right,
Right.
I'm a Sun and Moon Gemini with a Jupiter and Aquarius and a Leo rising. It's like
Yeah.
I'm playful and I
Yeah. Yeah.
don't give a fuck. But but I'm not mean. I'm not like just you know. It's like
Right.
Bart Simpson.
Not giving a fuck doesn't have to be obnoxious. It
Yeah,
doesn't, you know what I mean? It's
I
like,
think it's like a hippie punk, if
yeah,
that makes that's what a hipster is. So it's like I
yeah.
think we're hipsters, but it's like we're not. You get what I'm saying? It's just
I
like
totally
we're authentic people, so that
get
can rub people wrong. And trust me, the chick who gave me that advice about dropping the zombie tarot deck, she's a big Sedona kind of person,
Mhm.
right? And it's like it turns into this like garb and identity and trip, which may
Mhm.
have its own fruits and merits, and like who's to
Sure.
say? Like, if I
Right.
if I fast and never cuss and like, I mean, there's definitely benefits to not looking at pornography, right? So like just being crass and like anything goes. Like, no, I mean, I'm better on not drinking alcohol, or I'm a vegan. I don't push that on people, but it's
Mhm.
like so there might be merits to like maybe I'm playing in the mud and I could be playing in the crystalline castle. But
Mhm.
when people come at me a little like not condescending, but you see what I mean, where it's like
Mhm.
how dare you? It's like, I don't know. It's a very Grant Morrison kind of chaos magic energy where it's like, figure out what works for you. Like, I have a
Right.
Dreamweaver. I talk about Christian mythology all the time, even though I'm not practicing, because it's like
Right.
Bible stories that resonate archetypes enough where I'm like,
Sure. Yeah, yeah,
we can
yeah.
walk on water. Okay, blah, blah, blah. All right. Anyway, I'll show up. I know you want a card. You're like, Jim, hurry up.
No, 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 dude. I love talking to you, man. I think it's great. I love the energy because it's real, and it's like, again, it's like you're not afraid to bring up the dark, but you're not pushing light or dark on anybody.
There's a
You're
place for
just,
both.
yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
some of the coolest things, I'm whatever, like Marilyn Manson's got some cool songs, like The Beautiful
Yeah.
People. That's a great track.
I used to love horror movies and gore, and I love
Yeah.
that shit. I mean, I carried around literally the VHS tape for Evil Dead 2,
Oh yeah,
uh,
you told me that.
to every dorm room I went when I was in college. Like, oh my god, you guys got to see this. You know what I mean? And now I can look at it and be like, okay, I get where somebody can be turned off by it, and be like, no, that's low vibe. And again, I'm not turned off by it. I'm not as turned on by it as I used to be,
You've
because
changed. Yeah.
I've kind of gone through it. I used to listen to Pantera and
Oh
Slipknot
boy.
and all of that stuff, and I still can appreciate that stuff, but it started to carry a heavier vibe for me, and it
See,
wasn't.
so they're not wrong. Like
No,
I understand. Like if all I did was look at H.R. Geiger art and look at Slipknot videos, I
right,
would probably
right,
be in
right,
a very.
right.
But look, I'm an avid Warhammer 40k. Like I've read 40,000 pages literally. Like it's
Mhm.
taken a few years, but like I don't know if you're into Warhammer 40k or know
I'm
anything
not. I
about it.
know about it. Yeah, yeah. There's
Holy
a lot of
cannoli!
memes about it now.
Yeah, it is. I mean, like if on the surface it's like army men from space that butcher aliens, and there's like chaos gods that are insane and all this stuff. It's it's the most Shakespearean stuff. The story arcs and the archetypes are
Yeah,
almost more replete than Tarot to me. Where I'm like, this is where it's at.
right,
This is where the magic is. The muse came here. But to try to
totally.
explain that to everybody, it's like trying to, it's like Tool or something like that, where people are like,
Right,
this is kind of dark and weird. And it's like, well, if you understand that they're, into magic with a K and do all this stuff. Anyway, I
Yeah,
think that,
totally. And Pat says you gotta love Geiger, sublimely macabre, which
macabre.
is
Yeah.
such a great. That's a great way to put it.
Yeah. Or Edgar Allan Poe. I mean,
Yeah.
Shakespeare wasn't all just like like lollipops and rainbows. I think the most beautiful, even the movie I referenced on someone else was reading last Tuesday or this Tuesday,
Mhm.
What Dreams May Come. Like it, look, if you're going to experience joy, you have to understand that the opposite of that, like there's a reason we like getting scared. I we could talk about this forever. Like, I'm sure there's adrenaline gland depletion and low vibes, and who knows, entities can get in and all this stuff. But at some level, it's like you're going to experience exactly what you need to. And if you're in some place where these things are coming in, like, you want to be aware, because there's a season for everything, but you don't want to stay stuck in a thing, right?
Exactly.
So, maybe that's why that frog on DMT was like, "Quit smoking, man! Like, you're stuck on that trip." And it's like,
Right.
all right, because after that DMT trip, straight up, I was cold turkey on weed and drinking.
Wow.
Like, I was sober as a clam for a while
Mhm.
because I was scared straight. Basically, I was
Sure,
like, "Oh my gosh, it's real!" All right, I'm gonna pull a card really quick and read it and do whatever.
Yes, I love that movie. Yeah, it's great. And Jim is definitely somebody you would enjoy watching. Hat is she pops in the audience every once in a while. She's the one who turned me on to Third Eye Drops, one of the podcasts that I listened to. Michael Phillips, who had an amazing discussion about like disclosure and aliens and kind of like its place in the universe recently.
So stuff like that is funny because I think we're similar in that we don't have a vested interest in something where we're connoisseurs of novelty. So it's like, yo, I'll go into a comic book store and look at art. That does not mean I own a shit ton of comic books. Or, I'll go watch Cloud Atlas, but that doesn't mean all I have to watch is sci-fi. You
Right.
see what I mean? So it's like
Totally.
it's playing with a lot of things, and there's a place for everything. There's a
Totally.
place for sound bowls and only essential oil scents. Like my girlfriend's way into like healing like that.
Yeah,
And I'm
yeah.
not even against it. I think it's the
Right.
most beautiful. But at
Yeah.
the same time, I heard it today in Bashar because I go on these long walks and if I'm not like when I work out, it's to Daft Punk, Justice, like hard music to like trance out to, but like on a bike riding, 22 miles an hour or whatever. But on the walks, it's like I want to maybe, and in the hot tub, I digest more. And today I heard basically, the question and answer part of the Bashar Daryl Anka stuff is really what fascinates me because it's like pushing back, it's like, how applicable is this? Like, is this the rubber hitting the road? Like, where is if it's going to fall apart, it's going to fall apart when the congregation's asking questions of the preacher or whatever.
Right.
It's like, no, don't ask that. It's like he addresses everything. And the thing, somebody's like, oh, what's the point of life or something like that? It's like to be yourself.
Yeah.
And that's going to be this amorphous hot lava lamp kind of thing. There's no the river's never the same twice, but everybody's going to be coming at it, and that's why I love astrology. Holler for a reading if you ever want. You're coming, light is pure and it's coming through the dark side of the moon prism and splintering in a very specific way, and that's what we are. So there's a time and a place to be, and it's not the same for everybody, but there's a time and a place to be like way into Goosebumps books as a kid. You see what I'm saying? Like,
absolutely.
And not everybody's going to be picking it up, but this is where Vibe attracts tribe, and people can geek out. Yeah, it's whatever. All right, so this is the stone deck. I love it. It's a little sassy. This is rhodochrosite I've pulled. So if you own this, plus 5 points. But rhodochrosite, you can quantumly entangle with this. I always say that's with the stones because guess what? That's just the nature of the Tao. Like if you see it, you can be part of it. What it is, rosy red to chilled rose pink. Rhodochrosite is the go-to stone for the bent and broken-hearted. Who needs it? Anyone grieving or really needing to grieve a major loss, a relationship expired, or an outdated idea of self. Where to put it? Against your chest while you breathe through your heart, or slide a favorite piece into your bra, if you're wearing one. When to use it? It's got some sassy little hipster kind of
I love that
tongue-in-cheeky things. When to use it? When your heart hurts, you can feel all the feels, even the most painful, and still be gentle with yourself. Let rhodochrosite remind you that this too shall pass, and you, especially you, absolutely will heal and love again when you're ready. Soften your heart. And I think, honestly, I was hearing some John Cleese thing where he's talking about playfulness and how it's about openness and, all sorts of stuff. Softening our hearts is really what allows these kinds of conversations to occur. If somebody comes in with a dogmatic prism and they're like, fit the mold or else, that's what religion and politics tends to do. It tends to be like, here's the trip and are you in or you out? It's like, and there's a place for that or else it wouldn't exist. Right. I understand that. But at the same time, I can't speak for everybody. I imagine people listening to this are more on the wave, but it's like the more you can soften your heart. I'm a sun and moon Gemini, right? It's like be the child, be curious, let curiosity guide you. Some days, like when I was in high school, I had a girlfriend and I took to prom or whatever. We went to some haunted hayride thing that had a Halloween barn thing with like people with chainsaws that were cut off, just like the scariest thing. I had my eyes closed the whole fucking time. Like she was leading us. I don't know what's going on. I was scared to death.
I
was like,
I used to be scared. I don't like those things, and I have
no, they're
a lot
horrifying.
of friends who act in them and
Oh
build the
my
props,
gosh.
and like I'm totally been behind the scenes, and I still don't like going through those things. It's
Yeah.
just like,
But
yeah,
look, but I'm so glad I did because it made
yeah,
me understand a flavor of reality that I wouldn't know any other way.
yeah,
The trip
absolutely,
with this is, I mean, you could argue that's what Epstein Island people are doing or whatever. It's like
yeah,
we're
yeah,
just tasting flavors of the rainbow. It's like,
yeah,
all right, well, that's their karma, and they were going to have to deal with that and all that stuff. So
yeah,
the whole point, I'm rambling, but soften your heart. And I think when you soften your heart
yes,
and let curiosity lead you, you're going to have to be responsible for the decisions you make and understand there's consequences to, it's not, if you hurt somebody, there's consequences,
mm-hmm.
energetically and otherwise. You're hurting yourself. We can get off into all these new age kind of tropes or whatever, but
Sure, yeah,
the
yeah,
idea is if we could soften our hearts, we can enter in so much more magic. Like Disney, why is Disney such an effective tool? It's like capturing your imagination, like the
mm,
sword and the stone. It's like all these dudes are like, I can do this, I can do this. It's like the meek inherit the earth, and
sure,
that's
sure.
really the softened heart ones are going to
Sure, yeah,
laugh
yeah.
the most.
Listen, everybody leaving the theater after watching Rocky, right? I mean, it's just like everyone's like, yeah, like, anyway. Yeah, Helen says, I don't like anyone jumping out at me. I scream even when I know they're there. Yeah,
I
probably.
did that once at a Halloween party in like middle, or not even middle school, like 5th grade, elementary school. I decided to get under a car like at Halloween, and
Mhm.
it was at this house party, and my brother's girlfriend, he was 2 years younger than me, she was walking around, and I start going like making noises and stuff, and she was scared. And I mean, it's kind of funny to scare people, but it's
Right.
also like, I don't know, every now and then popping out and scaring someone is hilarious, but at the same time, it's like so mean
You're
and
you're
like,
you're working against your karma there.
yeah, like something. I don't know. It's petulant for sure, but I mean, you got
Hat
to
says,
think. Jesus and gurus are like, pull my finger sometimes or whatever.
Jesus, pull my finger. Hat says, I drive in Tijuana traffic 5 days a week. You can't scare me.
Oh gosh, Tijuana Brass. You know about
That does
them?
not sound
Da-da-da,
that does not
da-da-da.
sound fun. Yeah. Wow. Oh, Jim, listen, you are so much fun to talk to. I mean, I don't. It's not like because it's an echo chamber necessarily. Maybe it is. Who knows?
Mhm.
But I just love that we can pontificate and expand on all these different things. So I really appreciate you being here. I'm looking forward to being your friend into
Yeah,
the
you're
future,
my
and
buddy. We got a jam. You played bass. We
yeah.
didn't really talk about it, but it's like music's what's up. That's what I mostly do. Like I
That's
wrote for a
awesome. I
band.
would I would love that. I don't know if we can do that like virtually if you have any sort of like lag
We can
free
figure it out.
software.
I mean, even if I'm like, yo, give me an idea for a song, I'll write some chords or
We
whatever.
can we can
Here's the track.
collaborate.
Let's
Yeah,
fuck
yeah, yeah.
around. Yeah.
Absolutely. Let's do it. Let's definitely do it. Yeah, totally. And
I'll talk to you in the in life or whatever.
yes, Herb Alpert, my
Tijuana
mom
Brass.
my mother had that album. Yeah, I remember that album as well.
Da-da-da, da-da-da,
Totally.
da-da-da-da-da-da.
Totally. Thank you, brother Jim from
For
Ninja
sure.
Kitty, who
Sure.
has been here since day one. Thank you, Ninja Kitty, for
Ninjutsu.
being here. My husband has it hat. Oh, hat. My husband has it hat. Yes, the Tijuana Brat. I remember the vinyl. It was in my parents' collection for sure. Hat saying thanks, guys. Yeah, Jim, thank you so much, man. We're definitely gonna have to do this again. We're
For
definitely
sure.
gonna have to connect IRL.
Mhm.
And we'll take it from there. I'm gonna put you in the green room. Do you have any parting words of anything? Any
I
specific
mean, I'm
emotion?
just regurgitating what I heard today, but it's like I really do think when I heard Daryl Anka channeling Bashar say the point of life is to be yourself. I mean, cut scrapes, the good, the bad, and the ugly. You're here to experience it, and it's not like you're gonna be a stationary point that's like, oh, I got it.
Mhm,
Nothing. Oh,
mhm,
cool.
mhm,
I'm
mhm.
on top of the pyramid now, and
I love
I'm not
that.
gonna move.
I
It's
love
like
that addendum to that. Like you're here to be you, but that doesn't mean
it's a
it's just
transitory,
one answer.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah. I love
journey.
that. I love that. That's
Yeah,
beautiful. Beautiful.
like look at
Thank you,
any
man.
story. Darth Vader was Anakin.
Yeah. Yeah. There
And
you
then
go.
I mean, it's the whole trip, and everybody has the whole fool's
Beautiful.
journey of the trail. So basically, yeah, guys, you're here to be
Beautiful.
you.
Beautiful.
Don't hold back and just
That's it.
enjoy the ride.
That's it. And I love also another thing you said that I say all the time is you can't stand in the same river twice,
Mhm.
right? Because the water's going and it's never the same river. It's always changing. So awesome. I love it. Awesome, brother Jim. We will see you soon here. And I'm
Adios.
gonna pop you in the back. Oh man, another crazy adventure. I love the fact that I decided to do this every Thursday and I've done it. And I think I've never had a bad experience. I mean, sometimes it's been like, oh my God, what's going on? I don't know, taking it by the seat of my pants, but it's always great. And I love that you guys come here and interact with each other and interact with me and spend your time here, intentionally. It really means a lot. So I appreciate that, guys. Ninja, you always say it's an amazing show. I'm doing this for you, babe. Pretty much every time I do it, you love it. Jim is fun. I'll watch from the beginning after you finish. Cool. Jim is very fun. He does great readings every morning. Very knowledgeable. And, again, I say very knowledgeable, but it's like, not pushing like, hey, this is what I know and this is what it is. It's like, hey, here's some things I know, maybe they'll resonate with you, which is, I think, very authentic, and I love that vibe. Anyway, I don't know what's going on over the next couple of weeks. I do know I've got a couple of cool guests. I was on Lara Starr's show, and she had, oh my goodness, what the heck is his Randall Smith, amazing guy, coming up in a couple of weeks. I do have some good guests coming up. I just don't know when they are. So you're going to have to take a shot, and you're going to have to gamble and tune in on Tuesdays to Holding Space. Tune in on Thursdays to the live stream of consciousness, and in between, just make it intentional. Whatever you do it with intention. And I will see you guys next week. Peace.
Gotta ask yourself whether reality is a dream or you a dream for reality. We're all a part of the answer to the meaning of it all. Come in and join us for